smaller.
It is November 1st, and we are going to have our agenda review. But before we begin, may we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager Layton.
Thank you, Mayor. Two proclamations on the first page, that's all we have.
I have a correction already. The minutes are for the en banc, so that would be October 25th. And then I would like to already ask the council, can you guys please join me at the front for the Wichita Age-Friendly Initiative when we have that proclamation on Tuesday?
Okay. On page 2, we have 5 speakers scheduled. That's all I have on page 2. On page 3, number 1 would approve a resolution of intent for a $12 million industrial revenue bond for a 111,000 square foot speculative maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. And this is allowed under your spec warehouse and MRO program. Number 2 would approve a district plan amendment for the Center City South Redevelopment District, which would allow for us to construct the parking associated with the Biomed Center.
And this is not increasing the boundary, is that correct?
Troy?
No, that's correct. It just changes the percentage of return and the eligible expenses.
Did we get it worked out with county, the reimbursement?
Yes, that's the reference to the 300,000
Yeah.
increase, yes.
Okay.
Number 3 is setting a date of hearing for a property located in that district. It would set the date of hearing for a mixed-use redevelopment project at 333 East English.
And again, this one has no property tax abatement, is that correct?
That is correct. Number 4 would extend the project deadline and allocate an additional $1.6 million in ARPA funding for the Violence Interrupter program.
I have a couple questions regarding that. I have previously asked what are other options regarding funding, CIP specifically projects, and fire storage and fire apparatus were amongst the choices. Can we have further information regarding that?
I've gathered all that for you, Mayor. You asked me to send out to council members. I will this afternoon.
And again, so can you talk about if we chose fire over violence interrupters, does that mean that future CIP dollars can be freed up for other items, or how does that work?
The fire storage facility that you're referencing is in the CIP and was to use general obligation funding. And so if you moved ARPA funding to that, it then frees $1.6 million for use in the CIP later or at some other point for another project.
Are there other options? Not of a portion of the 1.6 to violence interrupters and the rest to another project?
You could, we have a number of projects that the city council has already approved and have gone out to bid and that were anticipated for general obligation. You could move some money to those to have the same kind of impact, just at a smaller dollar amount.
Okay.
Yep. If the council were to determine not to put money into an extension of violence interrupters, we still need an extended deadline for the original $1.5 million. They got a late start. The funding that we have would take them into 25, and so that date would have to be extended, and I'll send that out to the council as well.
And again, the original contract was for 1.5 million.
correct.
All we're asking for is an extension of that 1.5 million. In addition to the second ask is there's 1.6 million
Right.
on top of that we could allocate. And
would
that, what
extend
would we
it,
do
yeah.
with
And that would
1.6
extend the
million?
deadline further if you did that.
Bob,
Yes.
will, I saw Captain Moses walked in, will Chief Sullivan or anybody from WPD be available or be able to just highlight some of the successes of the violence interrupter program, or?
It probably won't be police, it will be other staff members and probably representatives of the groups associated with violence interrupters. The police specifically are not the sponsors of this program, and the idea is to have this separate from the police department to be
okay.
effective. But we'll have people to answer questions and provide additional information.
Because this morning we received a text about some of the tragedies that happened last night in our community, some violence, and I was pleasantly surprised to see the chief mentioned that they were going to utilize the violent
Yeah,
interrupters.
they use them as a tool,
Yeah.
but they aren't the sponsor.
So it seems like a pretty successful program, so I just want to make sure that was being highlighted. Thank you.
Yes, thank
Can
you.
I also ask a follow?
Could Chief Snow, sorry, I'm hopping in, could Chief Snow also be available to answer questions about the fire needs as well?
About the fire facility? I'm gonna,
Yeah, correct.
yeah, she'll be there. I'm also sending out a brief description of that. Council had already approved that project and we went out to bids, but I'll give a thumbnail sketch of what that project is, just as a reminder.
Do you have I just have one more, I guess, question, comment, and I'm happy to have these behind, with anyone, but it's a little bit worrisome to me that it seems like we're putting a police program against a fire program, and I don't know how this happened. I mean, I thought we had a workshop that we were all pretty excited about the way that the program was going, so I guess I'm just a little confused, but it seems like they're both public safety, they're both incredibly important, part of, probably some of the most important core function that we do, and it feels a little off to me that we're deciding between police and fire, and I don't know how we got to this place, so
City
I'll look
Manager
forward to hearing
Layton,
more.
can you address whether this is a police department project?
It technically is not. It's a public safety part of our strategy on dealing with violent crime and the concerns the public has about violent crime. And so the model, it is correct that it's a public safety project. It's just not sponsored or housed in the police department.
So I said police, I'm sorry, I should have just said two public safety programs, so I stand corrected, thank you.
I have one more question regarding another option. So there are three options right here: fire storage facility, Patrol East, or option C was fire apparatus. Can we have more information regarding fire apparatus?
Yes, I'm not sure that is a viable alternative because I think we already have ARPA dollars going to that because we do have, as you know, we're in a pinch right now. We're towards the end of the year and we're trying to see which projects are actually either under budget or have moved too slowly to be committed by the end of the year. And I have to check with the budget office. They may have already, since we first started talking about this, they may have already allocated additional ARPA dollars for that under the council's approval to move capital projects. But I'll get that and clear that up before I send an email out. Okay. Anything else? All right. Number 5 would approve $950,000 in ARPA funding for the Healthy Corner Store program initiative or implementation, excuse me. Number 6 is our quarterly financial report. There'll be a presentation on that. Number 7 would approve revised guidelines for the allocation of $369,000 in unobligated ARPA funding to assist with rapid rehousing and housing assistance for residents in the emergency shelter. Number 8 would allocate $5.7 million in ARPA funding and $611,000 in general funds that have come from the sale of proceeds from the sale of property for the Project 2 at the MAC, which is the second phase, and that's really the construction of the MAC other than the emergency shelter piece.
I have a question regarding that. During that report, I would like to know the Project 1 renovation update, what improvements have already been made or what are yet to be made, And then also, I know that we have been talking about enforcement regarding camping. Can we also, I don't know whether it's at item 8 or item 9, where that stands regarding enforcement of camping ordinance?
Mayor, I'm ready to visit with each of you next week about that. We have a draft, we have 3 draft ordinances that I want to share with all of you, so that's the status of that. Also forgot to mention under this item that there'll be, you'll also be approving the development sub-agreement with Petra to complete the work for Phase 2, or Project 2. Number 9 is to update the Affordable Housing Fund program plan and allocate $3.6 million for the purchase of 56 public housing properties by the city from the Public Housing Authority. Number 10 would allocate $800,000 in ARPA funding, excuse me, $600,000 in ARPA funding for humankind's operation of the emergency winter shelter this winter. Number 11 would approve a contract with VESH for vet services related to the animal control program. Number 12 would conduct an appeal hearing related to a waiver of spacing requirements for a correctional placement residence. Reminder, you'll be serving as a hearing board in that regard, and the council does have a opportunity to go into executive session to discuss the case if you wish after it's been presented. Number 13 would consider an ordinance related to the location for council workshops. Number 14 would consider an ordinance related to the addition of public agenda to the council workshops. That's all I have on page 5. On page 6, you, council will consider a zoning change in District 6. There's a difference in the MAPC and the DAB recommendations. Page 7, number 1 would approve the annual agency plan, the 5-year plan, and the capital fund program for the Public Housing Authority. Under council items, there is one item, travel item under the agenda. I don't have anything on page 8. Page 9, items 7 and 8 are settlement of outstanding claims. Number 9, it would extend the landlord incentive program to include the Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Program. Page 10, number 11 would approve the annual pooled funds investment policy as a requirement of the state. Number 12 would approve an overestimate bid for the the paving, markings, and signage portion of the downtown street improvement project. And that's related to the two-way conversion of our downtown streets. Number 13 would award $200,000 in CSBG funding for project access. Number 11, page 11, number 14, would approve 33 funding agreements for public housing properties to be sold under item 20 on this agenda. We'll get to that in a second. I don't have anything to highlight on page 12. On page 13 is item 20, which is the sale of 33 public housing properties to Habitat for Humanity, Residential Housing Solutions, and Large Enterprise. Number 21 is approving the sale of 56 Public Housing Authority properties to the City of Wichita, which we'll be purchasing with ARPA funds. And council approval of that is earlier in the agenda. Mayor, that's it.
Thank you
forgot to
very
read
much.
every page.
Any council member comments before the weekend?
Do you think we'd be done by noon on Tuesday?
I was hoping 10:30.
District 1 breakfast tomorrow, having guest speaker Mayor Williams of the Mayor's Youth Council, Maya Williams, also soon-to-be Judge-elect Jackie Kelly. So that will be a great breakfast, as well as
District 3
Lindsay Banaka.
representative- District 3 Representative Mayor Williams. I
That's
might
okay.
add, District
We
3.
welcome her to the first district, and we'll have better breakfast.
No, you won't.
Thank you very much. We'll see you guys on Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you.
Go vote.